why did they pick certain foods? So for myself, the way that I strategize and pick certain foods is depending on what the goal is and what I'm trying to obtain. So growth season, off season, bulk, whatever you want to call it, versus prep. Very different goals. And then within those seasons, you've got different stages for each. So let's start with, why do bodybuilders eat turkey breast, egg whites, and fish in their prep? Okay, so that's started mostly from old school bodybuilders, not really, because it didn't, macros weren't a thing 15 years ago. It was mostly just like meal plans and then just kind of lore. But as far as reasoning as to why these things worked, it was mostly just passed down knowledge. That's how things start in general, right? But today you have, or at least I approach it as a progression throughout prep. So as you get deeper and deeper into a prep, closer to the contest, you want to eat foods that are easier to eliminate erroneous data, so to speak, right? So egg whites, pure protein. There's no fat, there's no carbs. When you're trying to dial in for a peak or for the peak week, you don't want to have trace amounts of things that could affect the look, that could affect the digestion. So the easier it is to eliminate all of those things and just stick with a pure source of food, you can manipulate things and get data better. And so that's egg whites, right? 99.1 turkey, or a white fish, or like an ahi tuna where there's like no fat, or canned tuna, something like that. So that's why, for myself at least, I pick those foods, or protein powder. I mean, right? That's obviously, you don't really get any purer than that, depending on which kind you get. Um, but so those things eliminate any kind of things that could mess up that week. Outside of that, outside of the week of peaking, you also, the closer you are to contest, you also want to be as precise as possible, because if you're dieting properly, you really shouldn't have a uh, a big window of how to maintain your level of leanness. So what I mean by that is, if you're fluctuating 100, 150 calories a day, which is normally not like, in an off season, not a huge deal, or even at the start of prep, not a huge deal. But as you get leaner and leaner, that 100 calories, that 50 calories is going to matter, right? You do 50 calories times seven, that's 350 calories, and you're 4 weeks out, right? So 350 calories times 4 weeks, that could mean a half a pound that you didn't lose because you were off in what kind of in a measurement over those spans of weeks. And it, unfortunately for us lighter competitors, I think it matters a little bit more than bigger people, right? Because and that's the way the cookie crumbles. The bigger people get away with being able to eat a little bit more, they burn a little bit more. Lighter competitors, it's just how, we have to keep those things in mind. So precision is more important the closer you get, because of how lean you are. Now, again, different strokes for different folks. This is the way I approach it, and I think that it's worked out well so far. So, uh, but that's why those foods are chosen, at least for me in particular. Outside of that 4 or 5 week stretch, I'm much more lax on what I'm picking. Have combinations, and I'll still throw in combinations of things here and there and account for them, just because, to keep sanity for 4 or 5 weeks. But the week of, it is very, very much robotic, strict, same thing, same thing, same thing, in order to nail that look. Hope that helps. Please let me know, and I'll do another segment of why bodybuilders do X shortly. Thanks for watching.